And Salty Sisters. So I'm going to do tonight's video this morning because I had a chance to do it. And I thought, what a great way to start a Monday morning as we're talking about going back to the beginning and pitching our tent. Today or this evening or this morning's title is, when you're pitching your tent in the middle of panic. Have you ever panicked before? And here's what the definition of panic means: sudden, uncontrollable fear or anxiety, often causing wildly unthinking behavior. Unthinking or unthinkable behavior. So, this is what panic means. Have you ever had a situation in your life where you have panicked? Like something has come up on you, something quickly, you feel that rise in your gut, you just feel all these physical emotions, and then you're faced with what are you going to do? And today I want to encourage you not to hit the panic button. When you think about the panic button, it's a button that people could hit. Let's just say a bank or some other place of business, they could hit a button that's like a silent alarm that sends out information to the authorities, to the police officers. But I want to caution you because panic does not come from God. And when you hit your panic button and when you start talking about panic and when you begin to panic and receive what panic is trying to give you, you're sending out a silent alarm to the enemy to let him know that, okay, she's in panic mode. Now let's go do everything else that I can. So I have three words. I've sent the worksheet out already previously last night, and I have three words for you. First of all, before I dig into this, is omnipotent, which means having ultimate power to do anything, undefeatable. Now, these words I've known all my life, but for some reason at this moment in my life, these words are really just, I don't know, there's just such more value to them. So God is omnipotent, meaning that he has having ultimate power to do anything, and he is undefeatable. Omnipresent means present everywhere. And omniscient means he knows everything. So if we serve a God and we have a personal relationship, an intimate relationship with the God who has ultimate power to do anything, he is undefeatable, he is everywhere, and he knows everything. Why should we panic? We trusted him with our salvation. Let's trust him with every situation because what he has the power to do. I'm going to take us to 2 Kings. This is a very, very, very common story, I know, but there's just something in it that just struck me this time. And if you are watching and you attended Bible study last week, this is a repeat, but I just felt so led to share this in this study. So if you turn your Bible to 2 Kings chapter 6, and I want to talk about, this is when Elisha was with his servant, and they were camped out, and here's what it says. Let me go on to, let's start with verse 15. So when the attendant of the man of God had risen early and gone out, behold, an army with horses. This is very, very important to think about these exact words. With an army of horses and chariots, and was circling the city. Now I want you to think about this. This man gets up, you ever just get up in the morning, you kind of feel good, you're stretching, you're ready to meet the day. And then what happens is, well, you wake up and something hits you to cause you to want to panic. I want to use those words, want to panic. So he says, when he had risen early and gone out, behold, an army with horses and chariots was circling the city. I want you to pay attention to that verb, circling, because they were circling the city. What does the enemy do? What does the predatory lion behavior do? They circle the enemy. So I want to stop there just for a second. Because when you are there, can you imagine if you're in the city, you wake up and you see, so it's not just like one point of view. It's like this entire thing circling you. So many emotions, so many thoughts coming in, and the enemy whispering to you, panic, 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 panic. So then as we move forward, it says, and his servant said to him, alas, my master, what shall we do? What are we going to do? Do you ever say those, or have you ever said those things? What are we going to do? How am I ever going to get through this? How am I going to, Lord, I don't even see a way out. I don't see a way through, God. What am I going to do? Well, it's a good thing that you know the God who has ultimate power to do anything, and he's undefeatable, that he knows everything and that he can be everywhere and is everywhere. So let me relieve you there just for a minute. Now, yes, I can tell you all this and teach you this, but do I struggle with the panic too? I do. So here's what else it says. So Elijah said to him, do not fear, for those who are with us are more than those who are with them. Then Elisha prayed and said, O Lord, I pray, open his eyes that he may see. And the Lord opened the servant's eyes, and he saw, and behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. Now, I want you to think about this. The enemy was circling the city, but the army of God, the chariots of fire, the horses and chariots of fire were on the mountain, stationary there, just with blazing fire. Can you imagine that? Here's the thing, when you think about when you're going through a situation, the enemy usually is directly in front of you, blocking your view. The army of God here was in the mountaintop, and they were standing with chariots of fire. And see, I feel like that is such a powerful thing for us to remember. Stop looking right directly at what's going on, or as Cassie always says, stop looking vertical and stop looking horizontal, look vertical. So when you could look up, you could see whatever is surrounding you. God is surrounding it. Think about that. The army of God is surrounding the army that has you surrounded. There is something with a peace in that statement, knowing that. Okay, so here's what I want to tell you. I want to give us some scriptures to talk about this, but this is what the Lord gave me about panic. And I'm going to use each of the letters to remind you of what panic is and what the enemy how he tries to use panic. It says the enemy paralyzes us, offers us anxiety, adds negativity, causes indecisiveness, and convinces us not to trust God. That's what the Lord has given me about panic. So when you think about the next time before you panic, remember who is offering you these things. Paralyzing you, offering you anxiety, negativity, indecisiveness, and convincing you to doubt God and not trust Him. That's all in your little worksheet. It's all written out there for you. So what I want to share with you now is a story that I found, and I'm not going to be able to pronounce this gentleman's name. This is a true story. It says, get over here. Okay, I'm going to call this guy Takambi, and I know that probably is not correct, but he said he ministered to the Yagaba people in early 1900s. According to at least one account, Tommy was meeting for prayer with 12 believers when 500 people appeared outside, all in war paint, calling for his blood and saying they were going to kill and eat the group inside. Could you imagine being inside that small place with 12 believers, and you have 500 people in war paint, which could be pretty scary looking, telling you that they're going to kill you and eat you? The believers stayed inside the house for 11 days. Stayed. Sometimes it's really good. Staying can be slaying the enemy if you stay in position with God. All they had was a little water and a little corn tied to the rafters up above the ceiling of the house. So these men stayed just waiting on the Lord. Afterward, they asked, Why didn't you kill us? Why didn't you burn the house? And here's what their response was: Oh no, we couldn't do that. Those figures in white with their drawn swords wouldn't let us get anywhere near your house. You see, whatever the enemy is planning, God's army is much bigger than the enemy. God knows all things. He's undefeatable. He's all powerful, and He is everywhere. So you don't have to worry about Him not being with you in the midst of something like this. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you some very powerful scriptures to remind you about how omnipotent God is. And these are scriptures. It's also written on the sheet that I gave you for you to think about. And here's some notes that I wrote. Elisha's servant wasn't able to see beyond what he thought he was bound by. Sometimes we can't see past what we think is binding us. But when Jesus died to set us free, we have to realize that what is surrounding us, God is surrounding it. And then I want to talk about, here's the scriptures I'm going to give you, and I'm going to read these to you. And I want you to imagine this: when you are ready to panic, when the enemy has paralyzed you, when he's trying to give you anxiety and negativity, and he's trying to cause you to be indecisive, and he's trying to convince you not to trust God about this, but to panic, to let it all go. I want to give you these words, and here's the things that you can say. I want you to think about the omnipotence of God, the all-powerful, the all-knowing, the everywhere, the undefeatable God is who we serve. Isaiah 43:13, even from eternity I am here, and there is none who can deliver out of my hand. I act, and who can reverse it? Isaiah 14:27, for the Lord of hosts has planned, and who can frustrate it? And as for his stretched out hand, who can turn it back? No one. Matthew 19:26, and looking at them, Jesus said to them, with people, this is impossible, but with God, all things are possible. Job 42, 1 through 2. Then Job answered the Lord and said, I know that you can do all things, and no purpose of yours can be thwarted. Nobody can do anything about it. And then Luke 137, for nothing will be impossible with God. Acts 26:8, why is it considered incredible among you people if God does raise the dead? He is even able to raise the dead. And Jeremiah 32:37, behold, I am the Lord, the God of all flesh. Is anything too difficult to me? When you read yourself those scriptures and when you dive into the word and feed your soul and feed your heart, you gain strength from knowing who God is and what he's able to do, and that not anyone or anything can thwart his plans or deter his plans. So I want you to be encouraged by that. And I'm going to share with you. I may have shared this in the last week. I'm not sure, but Beverly had gone to a Bible a revival, and the man was preaching on Lazarus, and he said that when Jesus asked her where is he knew where he was, but he used this analogy. He wanted her to take him to where she had stopped believing. Where is it today that you have stopped believing? Where is it that you are all about to panic because you can't see through, because the enemy is circling you? Look above, look vertical, look for that army of Lord with horses and chariots of fire that is out to protect you. Remember that God is omnipotent, all knowing. He is everywhere. I want you to be encouraged by the fact that as Elisha was dealing with his servant, as they were going through so much, it says, when you think about the word war, it's an intense armed conflict, a state of usually open and declared armed hostile conflict between two things. So when you're thinking about claiming war, remember, sometimes the battle is not yours to fight. And I want you to think about all of the things that can happen and that can disperse. Instead of the panic button alarming God, it's alarming the enemy to send out that whole army to circle you. Remember, when you feel like you are surrounded and you feel like there's no way through or no way out, you need to look up and you need to see who's in charge of the army that is surrounding the army that is surrounding you. So make sure, no matter what you're going through, don't hit the panic button.